What's up, world? Thanks for jumping in for another ride. Today we're going to be testing out the Auxito LED headlights and see if we can make a major improvement on the 2018 Ford Sport with some terrible halogen headlights. So I did pick these up off of Amazon, and this is not a brand deal in any capacity, so I did pay for these directly out of my pocket. I paid $55.98 for these on sale. I think normally they're about 10 bucks more, somewhere around 65, 68 bucks, something like that, but $55.98 is what I paid for these at the time they were on sale. Now this does include 4 LED headlights, and they are the H11s for the low beams and the 9005s for the high beams, and they are rated at 6500 Kelvin is the color temperature on these. And so the box really quick just says high brightness, long lifespan, plug and play, off-road of course, and on the back side the temperature range is negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit and 175 degrees Fahrenheit is the temperature range for the operation of these. And of course the country of origin is China. So I always like to point that out on my videos where the country of origin is, and of course it is China. Now the reason why we decided to upgrade the headlights on the 2018 Ford Sport is the halogens that it come with are actually pretty terrible, and there is some information floating around the internet on that, and apparently it was a common thing. And so honestly the car only has about 36,000 miles, under 36,000 on it, and so we just don't drive it a whole lot at night. My wife is actually a real estate agent and she drives it the majority of the time, so it doesn't get driven a whole lot at night, and so honestly it just hasn't really been noticed. But as soon as we started doing more driving, going to and from some baseball games and stuff with our son, it's really dark out and driving from back roads and stuff like that, so we decided to do an upgrade. And so here we go, we picked up the Auxitos after doing some research, and we'll see how this turns out. And again, this is not a brand deal, so we absolutely paid for this out of our pocket. So 100% transparency as far as these go, and we have basic install steps. So place in the socket, rotate about 40 degrees, 45 degrees. Pretty basic information. Packaging is actually pretty nice. And so it just has a slip inside, and it just says total 4 bolts.
So this is from the inside of the 2018 Ford Edge Sport. And the wall is about 22 feet from us. And these are the original halogen bulbs. And so that is the low beam setting. And there is the high beam setting.
And there is a view of the low beams with the original halogens. And you can see how yellow those lights are, especially when compared to the LED park lights down below. Right around 300 lux. And again, this is just an app on a phone. I don't know how accurate this is. Okay, so you can see just the lower LED running lights, the daytime running lights that are down in the bumper that are automatically activated. So you can just see some ambient light from that. That is the park lights activated. And that is the factory halogen lights on low beam. So we're going to go down to a dark road and make a quick drive with these activated so you can get a sense of what the factory lights look like. And so now you can see the factory halogen headlights as we drive down this back road. We got a couple cars up in front of us, but not too much traffic. There's not a lot of ambient light out. So you can see how the halogens are on low beam. And we'll get up here and get a little distance, and we'll turn these on high, and so you can get a little better idea of that. You can see it's a, I don't know if it shows up in the camera, but it's a very yellow light for sure. It's a very incandescent yellow light for sure. All right, so you can see that there is some ambient light from a water facility over to the right, but we're going to turn the brights on, and there you go. You can see the brights on activated now. That is not, yeah, it is a water facility. Let's say it's a power generator, but it does have some electrical. So that is with the brights on. We'll go back to low beam. You can see that. We'll go back up to high beam. And you can see kind of going up this sweeping right hand grade right here on high beam. And we'll go back as we go up this grade to low beam. That is basically our high and low beams from the factory, and we'll get these swapped out for the Auxito LEDs, and we'll see what we have. Okay, so you can see that we have the 2018 Ford Sport and up on the lift, and I've made a lot of room in here, and this is definitely not something that you have to do. I was actually just doing some other maintenance items and some work on the car. So I've gone ahead and removed the engine cover, and I've also gone ahead and removed the top of the air intake box. And my thought was this just gives us a much better view of actually what's going on. So on the driver's side, you really don't have to remove anything. You can get to these rubber covers that are on the back side of the headlights. So the outside over here is going to be your low beam, and the inside is going to be your high beam. Now over on the passenger side, you can see that we have a couple of things going on. You can see that we have our components here, the tubing and lines for the HVAC. And over here we have our fill for the windshield wiper fluid. But again, it's basically the same general idea. So we just have the two rubber plugs for the back side of the headlight housing. And it is just going to be a couple of 10 millimeters that holds that housing in. So we'll go ahead and start over on the driver's side, and we're going to go ahead and pull that one out, and we'll walk through that really quick. Okay, so I got two cameras set up, and I'm hoping we got a couple of good angles here to see what's going on. And I'm going to start over here with the low beam. See if I can pull this thing off. And pops out like so. And then I'm going to reach up inside, and this should just clock about 40 degrees, and it's going to turn counterclockwise. And there is our bulb. Then should just be able to push down on the tab here on the back side of the plug. Should just pull out. So every time I say should, I'm always a little bit nervous because, well, it's automotive stuff and it doesn't always go as planned, but that actually worked out rather well. So go ahead and see if we can get our LED installed into the plug, and so it just pushes in. Okay, so there it is. So I'm going to go ahead and put this boot back on here. Okay, so that is our rubber boot or cover back on the back side of the low beam. And let's go ahead and pop off the one on the high beam. It just peels back. Pretty simple. Okay, here's what we have going on. So when I installed the LED bulb, it was actually clocked in a kind of a candid, I guess, position, however you want to put that. So basically I was looking for it to be in a straight up and down vertical position best as possible. So I'm going to set that off to the side and show you what I've got going on. If you're going to do this, you're going to need a T20 Torx bit, and I'm just using a 1/4 inch drive ratchet with a long extension. And so just to give you an idea about how long that extension is, there's that. And there is a plastic, just dropped my flashlight. And there is a plastic ring inside of this housing. So I'm going to position it so that it will be just like it is on the car. So, or on the little edge. So you can see that the plug down at the bottom is down there where your main harness goes in. And that ring right there, you can clock it in a couple of different positions. And I put a T right there, and that was marked at the very top of that ring. And then the dots on each side of the screw holes is where that ring was originally positioned. So I probably took more time than what I really can justify here, messing with this, doing my best to try to get this clocked in a vertical position. And it's absolutely not perfect. So I'll go ahead and put the bulb in for you real quick, and I'll show you that. But don't worry about taking the driver's side headlight out. I will actually show you on the passenger side. They both come out the same. So I'll show you on the passenger side how the headlight comes out. And if you want to do this on the driver's side, then you're obviously more than welcome to. But I just want to share that with you, that this is kind of what I had to do to try to get as best of a vertical position for the headlights as I could. So I went ahead and just pulled the headlight out because it did make it much easier to see down in there and work with what I have. So I'll go ahead and pop the headlight back in and show you what we have. Okay, so try to get the reflection of the shop lights out of the way. So you can see that it is canted just slightly, and so it's kind of canted to the, with the top to the outside, but it's definitely better than what it was. So it's not perfect, but I think that's about as close as we're going to get it. So that is kind of, I guess, one strike, if you will, against for the Auxitos, but it's definitely not the end of the world. I was just trying to get it, you know, as close as I possibly could. So just be aware of that. If you want them to be clocked, you know, basically horizontal, in that horizontal position for a reflector headlight, that is kind of the position that I ended up in. And if you mess with these headlights and you can, you know, come up with something, a better solution, I would definitely like to know. But
that's where I'm at. So I'm going to go ahead and get this headlight back in, and so we can move over to that passenger side. I know it's daytime hours and there's a lot of ambient light in there, but there is the difference in the Auxito LEDs and the incandescents. You can see the old incandescents or halogens actually over on the wall over there. And there is our LEDs. And then we'll spin around the shop here. And so there they are on low beam. And there is the original incandescents or halogens. Okay, go to high beam. And you can see the original ones there. We'll go over here. And there is the Auxito LEDs. All right, so on the passenger side, the plug for the main harness is just like driver's side. So we're just going to push down the tab and give it a pull. Unplug like so, and that is what you'll end up with. And then at the top, we're just going to have one 10 millimeter and another 10 millimeter. And remember, driver and passenger side is both the same. So let me get those 10 millimeters out, and then we'll go ahead and pull this headlight housing out. All right, so to pull these headlight housings out, basically what you need to do is just to sort of rock it from the top forward, because there's some plastic down on the front side of the housing, and that will basically release it. So try to work our way up with it, and we'll definitely have to use some effort for this. I'm going to cheat a little bit. Take that boot off so I can put my hand in there. And just like that, it is out. So there's a headlight housing, and we'll go ahead and swap these bulbs out. So I am going to use my socket to point out what I have going on. So as you can see, the light is now orientated straight up and down. This is for the passenger side. Now I left the driver's side the way it was. So this is for the passenger side. As you can see, the headlight bulb is actually orientated in a horizontal position. And this screw right here, I've actually ended up drilling. I don't know what size this is, but I've ended up drilling a hole through there to clock that ring in the correct position. As you can see, there is my T for top that was positioned here. And I've clocked this thing about 8 million different ways, flipped it over. And basically I could get these two screws here to line up. And so I ended up just going ahead and drilling a third hole right here to get it clocked in the correct position so that this would line up. And so now we should be in the correct horizontal position. And I don't know how much time I've used on this thing, but I hope you can see that without a bad reflection. So there is our headlight in a horizontal position. So again, I don't know how much time I've used on this thing. It's been well over an hour for sure, I can tell you that. All right, so the dim side just plugs in easy, and luckily with this being kind of a projector style, I think that's what this is referred to, this should be no problem. However, I probably need to clock this so that those wires aren't any under strain. And locked in the position, there's our bright bulb over there. I'm gonna flip this over so you can see it. And I know that these halogen lights in the shop are kind of a bear with a reflection, but that's that. And I'll show you the back side of it. And that's that. So we'll go ahead and get our dust caps back on and give it a test, and hopefully it comes on after all that. I probably should have tested this a little earlier, but I didn't. But some fails, it's my fault. So let's give it a test. All right, so since we just talked about that, I did go ahead and just do a test, and we are good to go. The Auxito bulbs actually fired right up, so no issues at all. They work great. Just basically, you know, that clocking thing is kind of the main issue. I'm going to see if I can get You can see good horizontal position, and that one is just slightly canted over to the right. Not a big deal. I'm not going to make that over the top. So if you'll go ahead and turn on the brights for me. And there we go with the brights. So you can see, and obviously with the passenger side not bolted in, you can see it's kind of canted down a little bit. Just want to let you know that we did go ahead and do a test on it. So they work great. I'm going to go ahead and unplug it and set the assembly out. And I'll show you how to go ahead and put the headlight assembly back in on this passenger side. We'll get this thing buttoned up and do a test flight going down the road. And we'll also take the little lux meter. Again, I don't know how accurate this flux meter is, but we'll give it a test with a just a phone app, and we'll drive down the road and see how the Auxito LEDs look going down the road. Okay, so now that we're ready to fully install the headlight housing back into the Ford Edge, just want to kind of show you what you were working with here. There's just sort of this plastic kind of a receptacle or a saddle that the bottom of the headlight housing will sit down into, and then you can see where our bolts go right there. So it's pretty basic. So the best way that I've found to do it is just to kind of rock the bottom into it, and then over on the outside, start with that going in first, and it'll just kind of fall over to the inside of the vehicle, if that makes sense. I hope it does. Let's see what we can do here. So I want to be cautious and make sure that I pull our harness plug up out of the way before I get too far ahead of myself here. Then I'm actually going to use windshield washer fluid bottle to kind of hold it back. And just like that, we are squared back in place. So don't forget your harness. I'm going to go ahead and reach down, plug it in. I showed you earlier unplugging it. So obviously, just going to push it back into place. And then our 10 millimeter, make sure we're all squared up. Try to get these started. Then prefer not to use a power tool to pull these down, so give them a quick final torque. And there we go. We are reinstalled. Okay, I'm going to get the rest of this engine bay all put back together, and then we'll go ahead and do our lux test, and we'll take this thing for a drive and see how the Enzo LEDs do out actually on a drive. All right, so the Auxito LED headlights are all installed in the 2018 Ford Edge Sport, and I think there's going to be a lot of reflection on there, but I'm hoping you can see some of that. So let's head around here, and I'm going to grab this lux meter. Let's turn the light off really quick. And I do have this light over here going. Slide over here, and you can see kind of what that looks like. I'm trying to stand right in between so you can see. And so I'm going to be really honest here. I actually have been driving the car for, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 days, something like that. Not a lot, but I did have to move it. Had to drive it for work. So, but I haven't driven it at night, so this is the first time it's going to be out at night. And so I wanted to wrap up this video with this. And so I don't know if it's in the exact same spot in the shop. I think it is, but you know, if it's a foot or two off, please forgive me here. But I'm going to grab this lux meter on. And so you can see that lux there. And again, this is just a phone app. I don't know how accurate it is or anything like that.
we're coming up about 382, 384, something like that. And that's kind of going back and forth. You can kind of see that line there. Okay, I'm gonna run over and turn the brights on. Let's go check them out. And there is our brights on. So let's run up there and check these with our lux meter, our slash lux meter phone. And so there is a view of the front. And you can see kind of what that projects like there on the wall. Sorry about my big shadow in the way. And so around it's kind of bounced around 418, 420. I'm gonna move it around a couple of different spots. Well, you can see those brights are much brighter. So like 750. I'm gonna go up, see what happens. So kind of right here is about the sweet spot. And of course it goes down as we go down. So that is our lux meter. So I'm going to go and get the Ford Edge pulled out of the shop. And let's go hit the road and take them for a drive. All right, so we've got the Auxito LED lights. And we are gonna go down that same road that we drove down just a couple of days ago. Now, one thing that I want to be honest about here, fully transparent, is it's a fairly clear night, and the night that we drove down this road, we had a lot of overcast. It was really cloudy. So we may have some more ambient light out tonight. I don't know if that'll make any difference or not, but I just want to be honest about kind of the change in conditions. So as far as the beam pattern, I'm really happy with it on low beam so far. So let's get out here away from all these street lights and stuff and see kind of how these lights are going to do. Now, as we're heading out here really quick, if this video has helped you out in any way, or if you just enjoyed hanging out in the shop with us, please do me a huge favor. Go ahead and hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and let's head out of town here and see if we can get an idea of the Auxitos on low beam. And we got some oncoming traffic here. And this guy's got a headlight out, period, so not good. I'm hoping, I don't want to, you know, take a chance of being unsafe in any way here, so I'm really hoping that these lights don't affect other drivers oncoming. And so far, the couple that we've seen, you know, we haven't had any lights flashes or, you know, any concerns about being too bright. So I think we've got a good pattern and a good level as far as the beam pattern goes. So let's head out of here and we'll head down to this low area. You can see some lights up ahead. All right, so let's turn on the high beams, and there we go, high beams. That's pretty impressive. Wow, look at all the bugs coming at us. That's crazy. All right, so high beams work if we can make it through this crazy bug storm that we have going down here. This is pretty wild. All right. So as we start going up this hill, I'm going to flip them back like we did before, kind of between high and low beams, so we can kind of see, you know, as we go up this incline, what they're going to look like. Wow, I'm going to have to wash the car tomorrow just to get all the bug spatter off. This is wild. Check this out. All right, let's kill these high beams. We got some oncoming traffic. Look at this. This is crazy. I don't know what kind of bugs these are. This is like got me serious curious as an outdoorsman. I don't know what they are, but it's pretty wild. All right, so that was pretty cool. We actually passed some oncoming traffic. We made it through this weird bug storm that we just went through, and we got someone on the side of the road there. All right, so this is the hill up ahead that we went up before, where we kind of turn on the high beams. So there we go. See that? Speed limit's 50, so I'm going to back it down about 5 miles per hour. So there you go. That is our install and test on the Auxito LED fanless headlights, and we did the H11s and the 9005s on the 2018 Ford Edge Sport. So far so good. I'm very happy with them. This is a huge improvement over the factory lights, which I'm going to be real honest here, I don't know how anything really couldn't be an improvement over those factory lights that were pretty terrible. So anyway, I'm very happy with it. If you want to see something long term on these lights, you know, if we have any trouble or whatever, just leave me a comment down below. And again, please do me a huge favor, hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe, and as always, jump in for another ride.